Get on board the Bernier bus train. Come get on board the Bernier bus train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Go get on board the Bernier bus train. Welcome to another episode of the Bernier Bus Show. Today, Dr. Cornel West advises us to pity the sad legacy of Barack Obama. Our hope and change candidate fell short time and time again. Obama cheerleaders who refused to make him accountable bear some responsibility. This is from January 9th, 2017. 8 years ago, the world was on the brink of a grand celebration, the inauguration of a brilliant and charismatic black president of the United States of America. Today, we are on the edge of an abyss, the installation of a mendacious and cathartic white president who will replace him. This is a depressing decline in the highest office of the most powerful empire in the history of the world. It could easily produce a pervasive cynicism and poisonous nihilism. Is there really any hope for truth and justice in this decadent time? Does America even have the capacity to be honest about itself and come to terms with its self-destructive addiction to money worship and cowardly xenophobia? Ralph Waldo Emerson and Herman Melville, the two great public intellectuals of 19th century America, wrestled with similar questions and reached the same conclusion as Heraclitus: character is destiny. Sow a character and you reap a destiny. The age of Barack Obama may have been our last chance to break from our neoliberal soulcraft. We are rooted in market-driven brands that shun integrity and profit-driven policies that trump public goods. Our post-integrity and post-truth world is suffocated by entertaining brands and money-making activities that have little or nothing to do with truth, integrity, or the long-term survival of the planet. We are witnessing the postmodern version of the full-scale gangsterization of the world. The reign of Obama did not produce the nightmare of Donald Trump, but it did contribute to it, and those Obama cheerleaders who refused to make him accountable bear some responsibility. A few of us begged and pleaded with Obama to break with the Wall Street priorities and bail out Main Street, but he followed the advice of his smart neoliberal advisors to bail out Wall Street. In March 2009, Obama met with Wall Street leaders. He proclaimed, "I stand between you and the pitchforks. I am on your side and I will protect you," he promised them. And not one Wall Street criminal executive went to jail. And that is the legacy of former President Barack Obama. Jose de Vega shared a link. Obama takes veiled shot at Warren and Sanders, warns 2020 Dems Americans don't want to tear down the system. He has become Barack Obama has become an oligarch. He was a murderous president, the lord of the drones who cowardly killed thousands of innocent people, including women and children, and the king of deportations, having destroyed more families and deported more immigrants than his two predecessors combined. He also gave hundreds of billions to Wall Street to bail their fraud out and reneged on campaign promises of immediate immigration reform with a path to citizenship. During my first 100 days in office, he had majority in both houses at the time, so any proposal presented would have passed. He sold his soul to capital and betrayed even his own race that saw the so-called war on drugs decimate black communities deeper than ever before, while keeping blacks enslaved in prison, working for pennies for the prison lobby. And his crown jewel, Obamacare, was another swindle to appease and make even richer his friends in the insurance and pharmaceutical industries. So thank you, Obama, but shut the hell up, Obama, okay? One of the most nefarious presidents in history, probably the worst, if not compared to the current one. Tim Black is another pundit who comments similarly about President Obama. I I have so many pieces here that I didn't include all of them, but let's go right to the New York Times. This is where Obama is addressing a bunch of rich people, a bunch of liberal donors, and he warned the candidates in that speech to them not to go too far left, and sought to calm those who were concerned about the state of the Democratic primary. By Lisa Lehrer. Former President Barack Obama offered an unusual warning to the Democratic Party field on Friday evening, cautioning the candidates not to move too far to the left in their policy proposals, even as he sought to reassure a party establishment worried about the electoral strength of their historically large primary field. Speaking before a room of wealthy liberal donors, Mr. Obama urged Democrats to remember the long combative slog of his primary campaign. Yet he also raised concerns about some of the liberal ideas being promoted by some candidates, citing health care and immigration as issues where the proposals may have gone farther than public opinion. He's lying about that. That's flat out wrong. Public opinion is actually farther left than many of these proposals are. The other thing he's saying that is very disturbing is that we're out of touch. He's saying that we voters don't really want the proposals that are coming from the left. What he's really doing is appeasing the donor class. He's aiming at people, particularly Bernie Sanders, who intend to take down those donors. And so that's where Mr. Obama is coming from. He's a fraud. He's a neoliberal shill. The kind of government he had is why we have Donald Trump. How to inoculate yourself from establishment bullshit. This is Caitlin Johnstone. In a sane, healthy world, a presidency like Obama's would be looked upon with abject horror. Actually, in a sane, healthy world, a warmongering Wall Street crony like Obama would never have been elected in the first place. But if you were to show the members of a healthy, harmonious society the way that that president used his power to do what he did to Libya and Syria, to continue and expand all of Bush's most evil policies, to divert the push for economic justice into a neoliberal orgy for 8 years, those people would recoil in absolute revulsion. The only reason liberals think Obama had a low-key, drama-free presidency is because that presidency was normalized for them by the establishment narrative managers of the political media class. If that class had been shrieking about Obama's warmongering, surveillance expansion, persecution of whistleblowers, crony capitalism, etc., in the way that it's been shrieking about Trump's non-existent Russia ties or his obnoxious tweets, these same people would see Obama as a horrible monster. But the propagandists didn't do that because it would hinder the cause of bloodthirsty imperialism abroad and crushing austerity at home. The plutocrat-owned media and the plutocrat-owned politicians have the ability to control what people view as normal and what they view as weird, just by not reacting with alarm to occurrences they want normalized and reacting hysterically to occurrences they want rejected. This article is by Michael Sainato, December of 2016. Instead of hope and change, Obama gave progressives Trump. President Obama's overall presidency was a letdown for progressives expecting the hope and change his 2008 and 2012 presidential campaigns promised. In many areas where Obama had the opportunity to deviate from the status quo, he fully embraced it instead. Under his watch, the United States maintained an interventionist foreign policy spearheaded by Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State. In Obama's first 5 years, the United States exported $30 billion more in weapons to foreign governments than George W. Bush did in 8 years. These weapons fueled unrest and violence in the Middle East. This was in 2016, Obama has bombed 7 foreign countries throughout his presidency, and he fully embraced the highly controversial use of drone strikes. Despite saying in 2008, "I will not waste a minute brokering Middle East peace." In 2008, President Obama promised to increase protections for whistleblowers. Those promises were scrubbed from his website in 2013 in favor of a war on whistleblowers against his administration. In the Obama era, there have been 8 prosecutions under the 1917 Espionage Act, more than double those under all previous presidents combined, The Guardian reported last year. While whistleblowers suffer, top-level executives and government officials are granted impunity for violating the law. No big bankers were punished after the 2008 economic recession they caused, but the big banks were bailed out. The individuals in Obama's administration who are responsible for prosecuting big bankers, former Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, former Attorney General Eric Holder, and former Department of Justice official Lanny Breuer, now all make millions working on behalf of Wall Street. During his presidential campaign in 2007, Obama promised he would have the most transparent and accountable administration in history. That never happened, and in many ways, his has been the least transparent and accountable in history. And on and on. And this is the president who is trying to make billionaires feel better, and trying to warn all of us that Bernie Sanders is not, as his programs especially, are not appealing to the American people, which couldn't be further from the truth. He's trying to scare us away from somebody who's scaring his donors. I've decided to make part of this video into a separate video, so I'm going to wrap up the Obama portion of the video and jump to the end tomorrow. So I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope your day starts off great, or your week starts off great. Get a little more rest and see you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed tomorrow. Keep on burning.
Get on board the Bernier bus train. Come get on board the Bernier bus train. Once you hear that clickety-clack, there ain't no time for turning back. Oh, get on board